Elijah Harper, born on March 3, 1949, and died on May 17, 2013. He was an OG Cree politician who served as member of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba from 1981 to 1992, and a member of Parliament from 1993 to 1997. Harper was also elected Chief of Red Sucker Lake in 1978, serving for 4 years, and worked as a policy analyst prior to entering the field of politics. Harper is most notable for his rejection of the Meech Lake Accord, a proposed amendment of the Canadian Constitution. Harper would find his fame in 1990 by refusing to accept the Meech Lake Accord, which, if passed, would gain Quebec independence from the country of Canada. Harper was displeased that the accord had been negotiated in 1987 without the input of First Nations Canadians. What made this so notable is that the legislature had to be unanimously consented for the motion to go through. Harper claims, "While I was opposed to the Meech Lake Accord because we weren't included in the Constitution, we were to recognize Quebec as a distinct society, whereas we as Aboriginal peoples were completely left out. We were the first peoples here, First Nations of Canada. We were the ones that made treaties with the settlers that came from Europe. These settlers, people, and their governments didn't recognize us as a nation, as a government, and that is why we opposed the Meech Lake Accord." There were only 12 days before the deadline for the accord, and each day the Manitoba government requested unanimous consent for the Assembly to consider the resolution. Each day, Harper, in protest, would be holding an eagle feather and denied unanimous consent. As a result, the Newfoundland Premier, Clyde Wells, cancelled a proposed vote on the accord in the General Assembly of Newfoundland. And since the Meech Lake Accord failed to pass in both Manitoba and Newfoundland, the Constitution was not amended, and Quebec to this day remains a part of Canada. In the same year, he won the Stanley Knowles Humanitarian Award, was voted as a Newsmaker of the Year in Canada by the Canadian Press, was awarded the title of Honorary Chief for Life by Red Sucker Lake First Nation, and received a Commemorative Medal of Canada from the Governor-General for his efforts in the public service. 2 years later, Harper would also oppose the Charlottetown Accord, which it was a failed attempt to add Quebec's consent to the Constitution. This accord would have recognized Quebec as a distinct society and would have given many federal powers to the provinces, addressed the issue of Indigenous self-government, and reformed the Senate and the House of Commons. The accord was approved by the federal government and all 10 provinces, but it was rejected by the public in a referendum on October 26, 1992. In 1993, Harper entered federal politics and was elected as the Liberal candidate for the riding of Churchill, Manitoba. He served as MP for that riding until 1997. In 1999, he was appointed a commissioner of the Indian Claims Commission and continued to support initiatives to improve the lives of First Nations people, and was involved in several humanitarian and charitable causes. As a child, Harper was sent to residential schools, much like many other Indigenous children, but that did not let it stop him. He attended the University of Manitoba in the early 1970s, where it was deeply unpopular for First Nations people to go to university. He had become friends with 2 other people there, Ovid McCurdy and Phil Fontaine, both of whom who would later become national chiefs of the Assembly of First Nations. A film titled Elijah was produced in 2007, documenting his life and, most importantly, his rejection of the Meech Lake Accord in 1990. Harper is commonly remembered as the man who said no to Quebec trying to become its own independent nation, and always looked out for the rights of First Nations people everywhere. When Harper died in Ottawa, May 2013, his body laid at the Manitoba legislature, and hundreds lined up to pay their respects to one of the most influential men in Canadian history. If you'd like to know more about Elijah Harper, or to show to younger children, there is the book Elijah Harper, Politician, Peacemaker, and Pioneer of the OG Cree Tribe, Canadian History for Kids, True Canadian Heroes, Indigenous Peoples of Canada. Thank you for watching, and if you'd like to know more about influential Indigenous figures, make sure to check out the other videos on the Keenanow website. Thank you.